Everyone imagines families as sturdy castles, but what if the walls crumble 1 teaspoon at a time, almost too quietly to notice? Research shows why millions of adults drift apart from their families, not in a sudden storm, but after years of tiny hurts and unspoken roles. The real story is not about running away, it is about slow, invisible weathering. So why does stepping away feel both scary and like finally catching your breath? Let us look at what is really happening behind closed doors. Most people grow up hearing that family is forever, like a sturdy house that keeps you safe from every storm. There is a story told in movies and bedtime books, no matter what happens, family always sticks together. But when you look past the front doors and picture frames, something surprising appears. The idea of the perfect, unbreakable family is more like a fairy tale than a rule. If you listen quietly, you can hear the small cracks, arguments that never really heal, birthdays missed without a call, hugs that feel stiff instead of warm. These are not thunderclaps or earthquakes, they are more like tiny drips of water wearing away stone, so slow you barely notice until one day there is a hole where trust used to be. It might seem like everyone else's family is a team, cheering each other on, but the truth is, this is not just a rare secret whispered in the dark. A big national survey found that 27% of adults in the United States say they are estranged from at least one close family member. Imagine a classroom with 30 kids. About 8 of them will grow up to quietly step away from a parent, a sibling, or someone who raised them. That is millions of people, all carrying stories that do not match the picture on the holiday card. This is not about one big fight or a sudden decision. It is about the slow, invisible ways a family can stop feeling like home. When the promise of safety and love does not hold up, people sometimes start looking for air, even if it means stepping outside the house everyone else says is perfect. The world might act like this is rare or shameful, but the numbers tell a different story. Family estrangement is everywhere, hiding behind curtains and polite smiles. It is not a failure or a scandal, it is a quiet, common response when the walls meant to protect you start to close in instead. 100 days of drizzle can soak a person more than one hard rain. In families, these small injuries often go unnoticed. Maya's diary fills with lines like, "You are so clever." For someone who never finishes things, the words seem gentle, but over time, they settle in her chest, a knot that tightens with each new comment. She describes love arriving in crumbs, a birthday card, then weeks of silence. "I am holding a candle that the wind keeps blowing out," she writes. The flame never goes out, but it never burns steady. Over months, the slow drip of disappointment leaves her drained. The Missing Family study found most people who leave do not do it in anger, but from exhaustion, like a candle burning down to nothing. Javier's story lives in his text messages. His dad's words swing from "I love you" to "you are a disappointment," and back again. The balance never lasts. Every kind message lifts him, but the next harsh one drops him just as fast. Research into family roles calls this the scapegoat or golden child pattern, with children cast in roles they cannot escape. Sometimes families hand out these parts like costumes: the helper, the rebel, the quiet one. If you are always the one blamed or ignored, you start to wonder if you will ever get to step off the stage. There is a name for the glue that holds people in these patterns: trauma bonding. It is a sticky kind of loyalty, built on hope that the next moment will be better. Studies show when kindness and criticism come in unpredictable bursts, people try harder to please, chasing the next bit of warmth. For Maya and Javier, the build-up of these tiny hurts, mixed with the roles they were given, became too much. It was not one fight or one harsh word, it was the slow, quiet loss of feeling safe, welcome, or seen. When family becomes a place where you cannot breathe, leaving is about survival, not winning. Leah sits on the edge of her bed, phone in hand, voice trembling as she records a memo for herself. "I'm cutting it off for both of us," she whispers. In that moment, the room feels both heavy and light, like the air after a thunderstorm. For months, her chest has been tight, her thoughts tangled. Every call from her father has left her braced for flames, never sure if she would get warmth or get burned. Now, with one quiet decision, she draws a line, an visible fence around her heart. Therapists call this the boundary moment. It is not about building a wall to keep out love, but planting a garden fence to keep the weeds from choking the flowers. Leah's decision is not about revenge or anger, it is about survival. Many people who make this choice describe it as finally reaching fresh air after months underwater. In a study on empowered exits, more than 2/3 of participants said they felt a wave of relief in the first days after cutting contact, like dropping a heavy backpack that had been strapped on for years. Some felt their hands shake, some cried, but almost all described a sudden quiet, as if the storm outside had finally passed. Leah's partner calls to check in. She answers with a voice that is both hollow and free. "It is strange," she says. "I feel empty but also lighter, like I can finally breathe. This mix of grief and relief is not a sign of weakness. It is proof that the line she drew was about protecting something precious inside herself." Boundary therapy notes say that setting limits is an act of care, not just for yourself, but sometimes for the person on the other side too. The relief that follows is not always simple. There is no parade, no confetti. Instead, there is space, a gentle, unfamiliar quiet. For Leah, and for so many others, this is what safety feels like. Not victory, not punishment, but the first calm after a long, exhausting storm. Parents on the other side often describe the ache as a kind of fog, searching for a child who's there and not there. Some send emails that begin, "I just want to understand," or quietly admit, "I miss my child every day." In support groups, messages echo with longing. "My heart breaks every time I remember her birthday." About 4 out of 5 parents in these circles say they hope for another chance, while a smaller group insists she just needs to grow up. Most aren't villains, they're confused, hurting, and sometimes trapped in patterns they can't see. Therapists hear a swirl of regret, blame, denial, and the slow realization that the past can't be undone. One mother, after months in therapy, says, "Maybe I expected too much from my son. Maybe I made him the golden child, and he never got to be himself." Moments like these are rare, but they can open a window, even if healing takes years to drift in. Online, estranged adults gather in forums that offer comfort and understanding. The crumb metaphor comes up again and again. Why do we keep reaching for crumbs? Some find strength, learning to set boundaries, and reclaim their sense of self. Yet there's a caution. Echo chambers can make it seem like there's only one path, when real life is more tangled. Experts warn that when everyone around you is building walls, it's easy to forget that bridges are possible too. Over time, the sharpest grief can soften. In a 5-year study, about 2 out of 3 estranged adults reported more relief and a stronger sense of self as the years passed. Some, like Anna, try the door again. With a therapist's help, Anna and her mother created a boundary contract that spelled out what could be discussed, how often, and what was off limits. 3 months later, Anna sent her first tentative email. "It's not the same as before, but I don't feel afraid to open my inbox anymore." Right now, studies show that 1 in 4 adults experiences estrangement, which is proof that even the closest bonds can wear thin. In a world that prizes connection, choosing distance is sometimes the bravest way to grow. Healing is not always about returning. Sometimes it is about planting somewhere new.